Jimmy Sports Network coming to you live. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Durant and the Golden State Warriors are your 2017 NBA champions. It has happened. This is what I call from the beginning of the playoffs all year long. Cavs was going to lose this series in 5 games, and that's what happened. They lost this series in 5 games. Did I think it was going to be in a fashion that the way it was in? Absolutely not. Did I think LeBron was going to average a triple double? Absolutely not. The first player ever to average a triple double in the finals, but we're going to get to that shortly. But tonight, Golden State has completed perhaps probably the best regular season, and well, not the regular season, but the best uh playoff season ever in NBA history, going 16-1, only losing 1 game, um and doing it in the fashion that they did it. If you're the Golden State Warriors right now, you're thinking, how many can we continue to win with the addition of Kevin Durant on our roster? Because every team has about what? You have to average over 130 to beat this team. You have to. There is no way you don't beat the Golden State Warriors if you don't put up over 130 points. And we've seen Cleveland have to do that. In the midst of game 4. We saw it in the midst of game 3. And we see it right now with what's taking place right now. So you hands down, you have to appreciate what it is, what we just saw. You can't hate on LeBron James. You can't hate on Kevin Durant. You can't hate on Steph Curry. This is something that you have to enjoy if you're a basketball fan. And that's why I personally can appreciate what it is that I just witnessed. And what I just witnessed was a great series that I did not want to end. I did not want this series to end, even though I did call it in 5, but I did not want this series to end because of the anticipation of the game, the way the game was playing. Um, Man, you had just so many great things happening and taking place, from JR stepping up tonight. But we're going to go ahead and jump into what took place on tonight that solidified the deal for the Golden State Warriors. If you go back to the beginning of the game, back in the first quarter, you did not think that Golden State was going to be pulling it off, because it seemed as if Cleveland was more efficient on tonight. It seemed as if Cleveland was going to be that team on tonight, and they had a letdown towards the end of the second quarter where they was down by 18 points, and we see them battle all the way back, right? And Golden State just kept it going. They kept the train going. And what's so good about this is, when I look at Kevin Durant, right? A lot of people criticize this man from leaving OKC. They saying that was the worst move anybody have ever made in NBA history, right? They say that about Kevin Durant, but they don't understand what Kevin Durant was dealing with when he was in OKC. Kevin Durant wanted a championship. Kevin Durant wanted to do whatever it took to win a championship, although he was the same player. Because a lot of people say, well, what was this Kevin Durant when he was in OKC? This Kevin Durant when he was in OKC was in OKC. But Kevin Durant did not have the team around him to beat a LeBron James. I hate when everybody sit there and say, well, Kevin Durant almost won a ring. He didn't almost win no ring, because that OKC team was not going to beat Cleveland. It took him having a Steph Curry who dropped 34 and 10, who averaged 28, 8 and 9 in the playoffs, almost a triple double in the playoffs, in order to defeat LeBron James. He had to have a guy like Andre Iguodala to step in and drop 20 in a closeout game. He had to have that. He needed a team around him that was going to trust him and feed him the basketball. He needed that. Was he going to get that from Russell Westbrook? Absolutely not. He wasn't going to get that from Russ Westbrook. But we knew if Russ was on this stage, we knew what Russ was going to be able to do, but he would have not been able to pull off a championship like this. Not like this. Not with this team that went 73-9 on last year and lose a game 7 to LeBron James. And everybody say, oh, well, if they would have played LeBron this year without Kevin Durant, then it wouldn't have been no series. I can't say that because it didn't happen. We can't say that. But what we can say is that, hey, is over. It's over now. And the weight is lifted off of Kevin Durant's shoulders for him not being put in the class of not winning a championship, not just having the scoring titles and everything, from MVPs to the scoring titles and all of that. Now he has an NBA championship, and you can't help but be happy for Kevin Durant. He's an NBA champion now, and me personally, to me, all the talk and everything it is that everybody's saying, I don't even think he cares anymore. He don't. I don't even think he cared then. He didn't. Because when you have a team around you, when you have a Draymond Green, a Steph Curry, a humble Klay Thompson, when you have those guys and a hell of a coach in Steve Kerr and a coach him up coach in Mike Brown, who hands down, let me give a shout out to Mike Brown, who used to coach this Cleveland Cavaliers team, who fired this man. He's still getting paid by Cleveland, right? Cleveland is still paying Mike Brown. They still paying Mike Brown. But and they fired him, right? To bring in a new coach. And they still paying this man. And guess what? All he did was continue to coach this team up undefeated throughout the playoffs while the time he was coaching them. And in the regular season while he was coaching them to the finals. So you have to give that man credit. It feels like redemption for Mike Brown. This series had a lot to deal with when it comes down to Cleveland in particular. Everybody want to know, well, is Kevin Durant now the best player in the world? Did he supersede LeBron James? Absolutely not. I don't think he superseded LeBron James at all, but I would say you got LeBron James at 1 and Kevin Durant at 1A, 1B. Yeah, you got Kevin Durant at 1B, but he hasn't superseded LeBron James at all. At all, period. And the fact that he hasn't done that, to me, I really don't have a problem with people saying that he's the best player in the world. I don't have a problem with people saying that. But do I believe that he has superseded LeBron James? Absolutely not. I don't believe so. We just witnessed LeBron James being the only player ever to average a triple-double in the finals. How did LeBron be dethroned by Kevin Durant? Kevin Durant had a hell of a series. Let's not get it twisted here. He had a hell of a series. But was it enough to put him over LeBron James? That's something that's up for debate. That's something that's up for debate. But I don't think so. I just think that it was a really, really good series, and I appreciate everything it is that we got as a fan. As a fan, I appreciate everything it is that we saw into these NBA finals. Hell of a finals, man. You can't pick two better teams to do what it is that they've done in these NBA finals. We wasn't going to see it from Boston. We wasn't going to see it from a Utah team or anybody like that. We saw some great basketball. We saw what we've been wanting to see all year long, and that was Golden State versus Cleveland. Now, it's a few things I want to point out in this game that stood out to me. Definitely, Hands down, you had some tremendous plays in this game. I believe it was more so like it started off with the Kevin Durant dunk on not Kevin Durant dunk, but the LeBron James dunk on Kevin Durant, right? I remember posting that. I posted that when LeBron had that dunk because you then that's where the game to me was tricky because I'm thinking throughout that game, I'm like, well, okay, they're not gonna call fouls on in this game the way they call fouls in game four, right? That's what you're thinking. But in the beginning of the game, it seemed like the whistle was blown a little bit too much. And that's what I felt. I felt as though the whistle was being blown a little bit too much. Now, one thing it is that I feel as though can be talked about in the off season, which what they can fix in the off season before we head into the new season, or does or while the summer league is taking place, is cracking down on officiating, making sure that it's consistent across the board. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, well, it was very consistent this year." I don't think that it was consistent in game 4 or 5. I don't believe that at all. Yes, Steph got to the line, but also, it was some questionable calls that played a factor in this game. It was. Now, um, I most definitely want to give a big shout out to Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, you played a hell of a series. Um, Even though you didn't show up the first 2 games, but you came and you battled from game 3, 4, and 5. Hell of a series. We know that Kyrie is the best finisher at the rim in the NBA. That's what we saw. We saw that. We also saw J.R. Smith, who received that 16-5, show why he received the 16-5. He is the reason why they was able to get back in this ball game. He gave them a little momentum going into halftime where they were down 17, and he cut that lead down to 11 with hitting 2 big threes, and he kept it going. Tristan Thompson stepped up and balled. But where were you all series long? Where was not only Tristan Thompson, but where was JR all series long? Just had 2 good games. That's it. If you was going to beat this Golden State squad, you knew you would have had to do more than just do what it was that you just did. You would have had to do more. You had to do that in game 1. You had to do that in game 2. Game 3, you would have had to play 7 straight games against this Golden State squad at the highest of levels that you could have played it. Hands down, where was Kevin Love? Where was Kevin Love? Kevin Love did not even exist tonight. Didn't exist, was not a factor whatsoever. I believe Kevin Love probably had a total of 2 points maybe. Didn't see nothing from Kevin Love. Not Kevin Love didn't do anything but open the door for himself to be traded, for him to be a stepping stool to be traded. That's all Kevin Love did. That's all Kevin Love did. He opened the door for himself to be traded. And the reason that he opened the door for himself to be traded is because he didn't show up in a closeout game. Now the questions are going to be asked. Who do you get rid of in order to bring in someone else? Who do you get rid of? And when everybody's going to look and point the finger at you, Kevin Love. Reason why they're going to point the finger at Kevin Love is because Kevin Love did not show up. He was not a factor. 2 early fouls in the first half, which he had to sit down. He was never able to get into a rhythm. But he did show up, and grab some defensive boards and offensive rebounds. He did show up in that category for the team, but they didn't need that. They needed points as well. They needed points as well. And so if you're LeBron James and you're sitting back, you're the king. You're sitting back and you're thinking to yourself, okay, what is it that I need to do now in order to defeat this Golden State squad? I know I'm gonna need scoring, right? He's gonna need another scorer, a prolific scorer. I think this opens up the door for Carmelo Anthony. A lot of people say Paul George, but I believe Paul George has his sights on going somewhere else. I don't think Paul George and LeBron James both playing the same position is going to correlate together. I mean, that's just me. I believe Paul George is the same player as LeBron James. That's just me. So I think you get a guy like a Carmelo Anthony, who New York has talked about trading and getting rid of. Phil Jackson has said it, and you pull a guy like Carmelo Anthony. And when you pull a guy like Carmelo Anthony, guess what? That gives you scoring. That gives you everything it is you need in order to compete with a Golden State Warriors squad who scores, who gets buckets. Hands down, they get buckets. But this is just an immediate reaction. I'm not going to keep this video very long, but I definitely wanted to talk about tonight was the ongoing slaughter that took place from the Golden State Warriors. Once they felt as though like they knew they had the one up on Cleveland, they didn't let it down, and they did exactly what the great Isaiah Thomas, when he talked about on First Take today, he was talking about how these guys should just he never seen them in a closeout game. He didn't think they had a dog. He didn't think they had dog in them, right? He never seen them put their foot on the gas and just keep it going and close out this monster and like LeBron James. But they did. And they did it in stellar fashion. And you can't help but appreciate what it is we saw tonight. If you're basketball fans, this is why the game is so great, right? Because everybody thinks that it's all about this particular squad or that particular squad or whatever the case may be. But this is why the game is so great. The game is great because we see great stories like we saw tonight. Kevin Durant, that's a great story, man. People hate on what it is that this man has done. And ask me, do I care? I don't care at all what you think. I don't care at all what you may feel. But what I feel is though Kevin Durant, hands down to me, is going down in the history books. And I can't help but appreciate what it is I saw from Kevin Durant. I can't help but appreciate it. So hands down, congratulations to the 2017 NBA champions and your 2017 NBA Finals MVP, Kevin Durant, and the Golden State Warriors. Shouts out to them for giving us a hell of a season. Also, shouts out to Cleveland for giving us a great year on this year. Hands down, they did everything to me what they could, and I don't have a problem with that. LeBron James left it out on the floor. He gave us a triple-double throughout this whole entire finals. We had Uncle Drew and Kyrie Irving stepping up and balling. We had Hennessy hitting threes. We saw Cleveland give us their firepower, and we saw Golden State just be a whole lot better. And so I'm appreciative of what it is that I witnessed, and I don't have a problem with it. But, this is Jeremy Sports Network. I'm signing out. You guys have a wonderful day, and tune in. We got some boxing to talk about on today, later on today. And not only do we got some boxing coming up, but we also got some stories in football. But tune in. This is Jeremy Sports Network. I'm signing out. Peace.